Okay, welcome back to Plan and Track. I hope everyone had a good lunch break and is excited to start our next series of lightning talks. So just a reminder, these will be a series of 10-minute talks. And because they're so short, there may not be time for Q&A at the end, but please ask questions through the app anyways, and I'll let you know at the end. Otherwise, you can catch them after the talk. Our first lightning talk speakers come from the experience design studio, Helios Interactive. Benjamin McChesney is the Chief Technology Officer and Managing Director at Helios. He's an open source advocate, visual artist, and heck of a dancer. Someday he hopes to use design and open source to make the world a better place. Ruud is the technical producer at Helios. Whether he's planning a sprint, triaging a bug, figuring out how to pack the tour van, or cheering for the Golden State Warriors, Eric is most in his element when he is supporting great people in pursuit of great things. Please welcome Ben and Eric to the stage.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for... Do you guys hear me all right? No. Okay. Oh, we got another one. Here we go. Cool. Got the back here. Hello. How's this? That's better. Thank you. Hi, everyone. Thanks for coming. Hopefully you've had a good lunch, and yeah, you're here for our talk. So we're from Helios Interactive. We're an experience design studio based here in San Francisco. We do a lot of work in the retail, events, corporate briefing center, and trade show space. So we're going to talk a little bit about our process and how we use Atlassian products through one of our projects.
So we try to create the most innovative experiences on location that we can. There's a huge amount of logistics that go into that, shipping things, figuring out how to get passes for everything. There's also a lot of things that we change along the way in collaboration with our customers and when we learn new information. So reacting to that change is also totally unavoidable. And what we're going to talk about today is how we use really Atlassian tools to do both sides of that.
Yeah, so plans are great, and our clients love plans, but we're doing things that they've never done before, that we've never done before. So plans are great, but you got to be able to improvise, or you're not going to make it in the live events industry.
Ooh. So yeah, there should be some sound to this, but it's not a big deal. You would hear a loud alarm going off, which was actually happening on site. So what you're seeing here, really there's three things I want to call your attention to. One was you saw a bunch of bikes with Oculus Rift headsets. So those were our main experience. That took a lot of work, a lot of people before this, leading up to this to make that happen. So that's the first point. Second point is, he has a great sense of humor, and he's very calm right now, even though there's an alarm going off, which has a lot to do with our preparation. The third thing is that this video actually, I dug it up from our HIP chat log, which was something we sent back to the team at home base during the event, just to kind of give them a heads up on what was going on.
Cool. So today, here's a kind of quick overview of what we're going to go through. So we're going to talk about all the way from talking to our clients initially and kind of their first inquiry all the way to deployment. Yeah. So first, a little bit about us. I'm Ben McChesney, CTO.
I'm Eric Ruud. I'm a technical producer.
So yeah, we use a lot of Atlassian tools over at Helios. We started probably with the typical use case, which is project development, tasks, things like that. We've since expanded it to a bunch of things. We use it for our sales pipeline. We use it for coordinating individual hardware pieces to our dev team to prototype. We coordinate shipments and crates between locations. We use it for change orders, a whole bunch of different things we use it for. Yeah, so first thing, sales pipeline. So what happened was we had been working with IBM's agency of record, and we had worked on a couple of different IBM projects over the year, and due to our previous success, we referred to an Austin team working for IBM who was doing something for South by Southwest. So, the sales pipeline, as you may or may not know, is needs to be pretty flexible. Sometimes things get fastballed and we need to get it done in a couple of days to move it through. Other times, pitch doesn't go well and we got to start back over from the beginning. So having a really flexible process here that accurately reflects the sales process was really important to build adoption for our team.
Yep, so when we started on this particular project, which was, again, VR cycling, it was, we knew some things going into it based on who our client was. Is this working still? Okay, so yeah, it was going to be at South by Southwest. It was going to have IBM technology involved. We knew it would involve physical bikes. We knew when it was gonna happen. We knew they wanted some wind. We knew that it was supposed to be an on-rails experience, so everybody would get basically a very similar experience, and we knew that the messaging had to be, something to do with IBM data.
And the other thing I just want to bring up is a lot of this was inspired from an actual journey the cyclist Dave did. So he cycled across the United States and used IBM cognitive computing. So that happened, and then they wanted to kind of bring that to others at South by Southwest to tell the IBM story.
Yep. So we also know our clients generally have some similar expectations every project. Nobody can have a bad brand experience. We can't have any downtime on site. We want to maintain all the leads that are captured, et cetera. But the big thing, really the biggest thing of all, is to communicate the brand story and to make sure that everybody understands that. Every guest leaves understanding that. Along the way, of course, we learned a lot of other things. So I'll skip some of these in the interest of time, but basically, we tried out a ton of bikes. We tried out a ton of different trainers, as they're called, the computer integration component. We tried out, some different celebrity ideas. We weren't sure if he was actually going to be coming, Dave Hazy. So, but yeah, next slide.
Yeah, so prototyping for us is really important. As you can see, we start with this very intangible idea. We want cycling, we want VR, and put IBM in there somehow. So, for us, we're doing everything from, this is our QA lead, going to a bike store, assembling a bike, riding it back to our office, only to realize that the bike doesn't fit in the hardware we chose. So lots of trying, lots of failing, but lots of good learnings going on.
It's a really nice picture of failed idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So prototyping, it's important, right? So we had some previous experience doing cycling and VR. So, we had to work with our operations team, coordinate over Jira to make sure the stuff gets shipped to us so our developers can do the proper kind of research that they need to do. We ended up going with RacerMate due to a collaboration between our dev and ops team. Seemed the most stable, least likely to fail on site. And throughout the process, because we're dealing with a physical space, we're not dealing with servers in a cloud somewhere. So, what are the cable runs? Can it go this far? How far can a VR HDMI cable go? It's limited. So working through all these limitations with our client and guiding them on how we can actually lay these things out in physical space.
Yeah, and all that was changing day to day. We had calls with our clients, we got to fit 6 of these on a porch, so we got to fit 8 of them.
Now it's 10, now it's 5, now it's 6.
Now our cable run's gone because there are a million other people integrating in that same space.
So here's just a quick look at some of the hardware we used. We ended up using the Oculus DK2 and eventually upgraded to the CV1. But prototyping, it's very, very important. So if you create content for VR, one of the things you learn very, very quickly when you make a mistake is that scale is very important. So when you're in a VR headset, it knows about how tall you are, generally about 5'8", and all of that, all of those measurements matter because you're in a physics engine or a game engine, so everything has to look right. So, so a lot of times what we do is just start white boxing. Does this road feel good? Is it turning too fast? Are the hills too steep? Are we going downhill? So you can really learn a lot by just doing some real basic white boxes and getting people to kind of play test it and see if it feels right.
Yep, so here's a look at our first iteration. This is something we actually sent to our client so that they could map out the physical space where we were going to be installing these. But it's Oculus, the bike, the computer running it all, some monitors, the camera for the Oculus. It all has to be accounted for. And that thing at the front is a walkway. Yeah, so in this first iteration, we really had something that looked like a real experience. It was sort of a prototype of, an approximation of what the countryside of Austin might look like. But there were still a lot of turns. I tried it the first time, and I felt sick for about an hour afterwards. So we had to change some things again. Constant iteration is kind of the theme here. Then we knew that we had to change some things in the space. Again, we had to change some things. The client wanted to see, of course, what the environment looked like. So we sent videos, which was, it was okay. It was better than nothing, but not as good as them trying the actual VR, because we had to have a lot of conversations about why things might feel different when you're actually in the headset than what they're seeing on the video.
So again, just working with clients that don't really have a lot of experience in VR and just trying to illuminate some of the difficulties you have. Like, we talked a lot about clouds, and when your environment changes really rapidly, that's unnatural. So they just kind of had to trust us for a lot of things, knowing that we had their end goals in mind.
And we still didn't know if Dave was going to be there at that point. So yeah, we, as we mentioned earlier, a lot of shipping of components, making sure they show up in the right place, get put together by the right people, and tested somewhere along the way. So this is our pipeline for shipping. Here's a look at on-site when we first got there. It happened to be raining, and we were outdoors, so that was another little fun surprise. So we got these plastic sheets put up. And Dave, there he is.
Dave, woo!
So he's awesome. He was really helpful. He swept the floor every morning, and he was a great brand ambassador. He really stayed on message the entire event.
Yeah, another thing, these are the sort of typical things that come up when you're on site. So this was in a refurbished steakhouse, which we were told was 21 and up. So, when someone high up at IBM brings their kid in, we're not going to tell them no, they can't do the experience. So thinking quickly on our feet, having the kids stand or sit in little makeshift stools, we were able to have the parents pedal so everyone could have a good IBM experience.
And this last picture again, I don't know if we can go back. Yeah. This was actually another one pulled from the hit chat logs, because we were talking to the team back at home base, like, how are we going to do this? Somebody proposed they just stand next to it.
So even up to, everything's running great the first day, and, we use a lot of cell modems to bring in internet to places that don't typically have internet. And what we learned is that when Obama travels to town, like he did for South by Southwest, he blocks all cell modems of a certain frequency, including us. So we actually got to blame Obama for 4 hours of outage, which was kind of nice.
It was the best thanks Obama joke setup in the world. Yeah. I think we're running a little over, so go through this one quick. We sort of mentioned the brand ambassadors. They're the interface with the audience and the guests, really talking to the team back home, environmental conditions on the porch. Those are all things that we were able to deal with.
Yeah, and I think the most important thing is that the client had a lot of trepidation about our experience, because there was about 4 or 5 other digital things going on. Ours was most complicated. It had VR. It needed the most hand-holding and brand ambassadors. But ultimately, it was really successful. And because we were able to predict what was important and focus on those issues instead of what the client didn't know and focusing on those, we were able to kind of set ourselves up for success. And overall, just unintentionally, but thinking ahead of these are sort of the risks we were able to mitigate.
Well, that's the end. So thanks. Yeah, the tools and processes really allowed us to create this experience, and thank you all for having us.
Thank you all for having us.